Good morning. This is a video about how to make the graph for Lab 3. Lab 3 deals with mass and volume to calculate density. And you recorded the volume and mass of different objects. And we're going to plot them in a scatter plot. And we're going to want to use the trend line to help us say something about density. So maybe you have data that looks something like this. Normally in math class, if you were to make a scatter plot, the x column would be first and the y column would come second. But for the data that you recorded, you have basically three different y values. You have three different sets of y. So for me, for example, I have aluminum, purple, and then maybe I would call this whatever the third trend was. These values are not real, so don't worry if they don't match. But so if the volume of the aluminum cylinder was 5 milliliters and the mass was 6 grams, these would be the coordinate pairs that you want to tell the computer to graph for your trial that is aluminum. If you have another trial, if you have a different color, this is a different series, it's an entirely different material, you're going to use a separate column for that dependent variable. So if you were looking at purple objects, if the volume is 6 milliliters and the mass was 6 grams, now you have a separate column. The computer will recognize this as a different series, and you can use a different color when you do the graph. Okay, and then you have a third variable. So remember, you only have 2 of each, but I'm using 3 of each to demonstrate the trend. So after you get your data entered into a spreadsheet, so you just start a Google Sheet, enter your data. It's really helpful if you label the column headings like this, because that's how they will show up then in the graph. This is Boomer. He came to say hello. And include the units so that they will show up on the graph axis also. Okay, so after you get your data entered, you're going to click on this button that says Insert Chart. And the default is usually it's either a line or a bar chart or a column chart. We want a scatter plot, so you have to scroll down until you find scatter plot. And then you can see the 3 different series are all plotted on the graph. Okay, from here, there are some things you have to customize. The graph needs first of all, it needs a title. And you should always use the name of the y-axis versus the name of the x-axis. So the title should go there. To change the axis labels, it's the same drop-down menu, so you change horizontal axis and the vertical axis. The things that we really need for this graph are trend lines. So trend line is in the drop-down of the series menu, and so you go down and select trend line. So you want all of your objects to have a trend line. And the equation is going to be important, so we want the label to use equation. If you want to, I think one thing that is kind of clever is if you, for each object, make the color match. That's one fun way to do it. So you change which series you're talking about. So the purple one, maybe you make that one purple, and the yellow one is already yellow for me, but that's how you change the color, is by changing which series you're talking about. The trend line is added, and that's what you need to make your graph. So for a little checklist, make sure you have a title, make sure you label the units, or make sure you label the axes with units, and then add the trend lines, including the equation. So if you have any questions, you can email me. Otherwise, have a great day.